with us on this Thursday edition of Ed Schultz News and Commentary. It's not the news cycle, it's the Trump cycle. This happens with everything this gentleman says. Trump goes out and he says something. Then there's the media coverage and interpretation. And then there's the GOP reaction. Then there's the public reaction. Then there's the backlash. And then there's the clarification. It happens every time he says something. So right now we're in the clarification stage of this most recent dust-up of what he has said about Muslims in this country, to the point where he's coming back saying actually he has Muslim friends who thinks he's doing the right thing and he's doing the Muslims a favor. And you know what's going to happen at the end of this Trump cycle? The poll numbers are going to go up again. I don't believe that Trump is going to be damaged at all by this. You have to look at this in the totality of what the Republicans have done over the last 7 years. They have coached the Republican base to hate Obama. They have coached the Republican Party to be nothing but obstructors of any kind of progress in this country and make Obama the focal point of all problems. So Trump comes along and says, well, this is what I think we should do. And everybody just follows right into it. 65% of Republicans are saying that they agree with Trump, that not to let Muslims into the country would be a good way to protect America until we, quote, get our act together. That's how he terms it. Well, folks, it's a business situation. If they're buying it, you keep delivering the product. And the Trump cycle is going to continue on. And now we've moved into this phase of, well, what about this pledge? Because the Republicans are sitting there thinking, damn, he just might win this thing. You know, but we signed a pledge. But wait a minute, now we got to go back on it. I find it hilarious. So here we go in the clarification stage now, to make sure we all know exactly what Trump meant and what he really believes. Is we're in the mop-up stage or the clarification stage, so he's doing these interviews. Who doesn't want to interview Donald Trump right now? Everybody does. Everybody wants to know how he's going to manage this, keeping Muslims out of the country until we, quote, get our act together. So he sits down with CNN and says this.
Let's talk about this proposal, right? You adjusted it slightly so that it would say that you would let American Muslims who are traveling overseas return to the country. This doesn't apply to U.S. citizens?
It never did. From day one, it never did. I don't know why people thought it did. This applies to people coming into the country, and all it is a break till our politicians, who are grossly incompetent, by the way, can get their act together.
So what about foreign diplomats or people from Muslim countries who are coming into the country?
Certainly exceptions can be made. I mean, we're not going to say you can't come into the country. And the one thing people didn't pick up, at the end of that sentence, it said, until we get our hands around it, essentially, until we find out what the hell is going on, which is the expression I used. Now, I could go quickly, but you know what? It's a subject that has to be discussed.
So the clarification is, it's just a subject we need to discuss. He's really not a Nazi, and everybody still wants to talk to him. It's the Trump cycle. There's so many facets to it. He says something, then of course there's media interpretation, and then there's outrage, and then there's GOP reaction, then there's public reaction, then the polls go up, and everybody talks to him. Okay. Now he's saying that the Muslims, his friends, are right behind him.
We released three national polls last week. Three polls last week. The national poll, Iowa, New Hampshire, you're ahead by far. And then you release this controversial statement. Why not just sit on your big lead and just let it ride?
Because, Don, I have to do what's right. We need a dialogue in this country and throughout the world. We have a big problem. And as you know, I have many friends who are Muslims. They're phenomenal people. They are so happy at what I'm doing. I was called by 3 people today, very big. They said, you are doing a tremendous service, because unless people are going to be talking about it, it's never going to be so. The public agrees with what I said. They saw those 2 animals last week go out and shoot people, and the husband and wife, the wife came here on a phony visa, on a visa that, frankly, it's disgraceful that she was able to come in, and she probably radicalized him. Yeah. She had a fiancé visa. And a disgusting, disgraceful
There
thing.
you have it. Trump has a unique way of making what he says, which seems outrageous, to sound relevant. He is a master at that. He is an excellent communicator, and he's also continuing to create problems for the Republican Party. Now, I take issue with Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, says that this isn't conservatism. This isn't the Republican Party. This isn't America. Well, then why is it that 65% of Republicans agree with Donald Trump? You see, Trump is giving the Republican Party an opportunity to look normal. He says it's not American. Is it American to vote down health care 50 times in the House, to take health care away from 17 million Americans? Now, I know that's another subject, but don't come across as if you're all of a sudden this heartfelt person that cares about the American neighbor next door, Mr. Ryan. Come on, you're as heartless as any of them. The Republicans are still the Republicans. They're all about privatization. They're all about profit. They got nothing to do with people. And they don't even know where their people are. The Republicans are with Trump on this. Yet the leadership is trying to distance themselves from them. They got some identity problems. There's no question about that. All right, so now we go to the point of contention, which is now the pledge. Oh, my God. What's going to happen here? All of these Republicans were asked in a debate to raise their hand. All of these Republicans were asked if they'd sign a pledge. Here's John Kasich trying to weasel out of it.
I signed a pledge. That's why you have to be careful with pledges you sign, that I would support the Republican nominee. Now, look, is it possible that you change your mind? Yeah. It takes something extreme to do it. But I will tell you, sir, there's no way that Donald Trump's going to be president.
And that's exactly what they said about Barack Obama, who, when he announced in February of 2007, only 18% of African Americans in this country knew who the hell he was. And I'm sure that the poll numbers coming out of New Hampshire certainly don't favor Bernie Sanders. Well, they do, by 10 points. You don't know what's going to happen. The horses are just getting the gate. Nobody's running yet. The fact is, we still got a long way to go. And Iowa doesn't hang the moon. It's one state. It's a caucus state. It's a beginning benchmark, but it's not the end of the line. And so there's a lot of water that has to go under the bridge. And for these Republicans to come out this early being worried about whether they're going to live up to their pledge just underscores that they know the power of Trump. They know the Trump cycle, and they're starting to come to the realization they probably won't be able to defeat him.